I'm doing the introduction, and a lot has been happening in the immigration arena, and I only have 15 minutes to discuss it, and now it looks like I only have 5. So obviously, I'm not going to be able to run through very much, but all of us get daily news about immigration policies that impact people related to deportations and border enforcement. But much of what is happening today also impacts legal immigrants that are holding jobs in the U.S. And keeping track of this is really challenging, particularly because there's a number of lawsuits that are pushing back regarding some of these policies. And so some days it seems like things are going forward, and then other days things are stopped. And I would say, I just want to run through, I don't have slides specifically for this, but the major executive orders and policies that are going to impact your workers today are the shutdown of Daca, which has been reopened by court order right now. And I understand from one of my partners that many of you are concerned about this and what's going to happen with your Daca employees, which would be people who have work authorization cards, and they don't know if they're going to be able to extend or not extend. Now they can extend for now. This will probably make its way up to the Supreme Court. No doubt it will. And then we'll see what the Supreme Court says about Daca. In the meantime, it might be smart to contact us to figure out if any of your Daca recipients might have another alternative. There are things that can be done, and it would be good to assess which cases might be those that we could implement some other sorts of plans for your employees. For some, there is not going to be anything we can do, but it's also important to have that piece of information. So the next thing is the various permutations of what we call the Muslim ban. It's not now extended to only Muslim countries, but essentially it impacts foreign nationals from certain specific nations, and that is under consideration by the U.S. Supreme Court. They've already taken the hearings on it. It's not looking like the Muslim ban will be shut down. It's looking more like the last Muslim ban version, which was from last fall. The third version may be allowed to move forward intact. So we'll talk throughout our presentation about how that may impact your employees. And the last thing is the rescission of TPS, which is temporary protected status for nationals of many countries. And at present, this impacts about 325,000 people in the U.S., many of whom have been here under protected status with extended work authorization documents for as long as 20 or more years. So you may not even know that certain of your employees are on TPS if they just continue to renew their work authorization documents. This past year plus, the program has been terminated for people from Haiti, El Salvador, Sudan, Honduras, most recently Honduras, and Nicaragua, which really is the majority, I believe, of the TPS holders. And, watch for Liberia, perhaps Somalia. There may be other countries where that is just terminated. It seems like every month or so there's a new announcement about a termination. I was just doing some research for this panel, 80% of all these estimated 325,000 people are in the workforce here in the United States, which is a bigger number than actually the general U.S. population. So it's tricky to figure out, when these EADs, employment authorization documents, will terminate. That's why you should be keeping track, and Lon is going to talk about enforcement a little later on the panel. But basically, these programs are being terminated at a date certain in the future, and each country has a different date. So in addition to the executive orders, we've seen many new policy changes that impact immigrant workers, And we'll discuss these on the panel, on the different panels, but they include no longer giving deference to prior approvals. For example, H-1Bs that have been approved in the past may not be approved on the extension. Potentially closing off H-4 spouses from work eligibility. Same thing with potentially closing off STEM OPT from work eligibility, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. An overall shift in the way cases are adjudicated. So President Trump has said we want to engage in extreme vetting. So new standards are frequently being imposed, and there's a stricter scrutiny at USCIS as well as at the borders and at the consulates. There's a huge increase, I probably don't have to tell many of you this, but a huge increase in RFEs, which is requests for evidence. There's an imposition of mandatory interviews for employees that are seeking green cards. And so it kind of goes on and on. It seems like, just when we start to relax into what we're doing, we get a new memo, a new message, a new policy. So the barrage of these policy shifts is constant. It reflects the administration's attitude on immigrants and immigration. And in fact, 2 months ago, USCIS changed its mission statement to remove the words "nation of immigrants" and to shift it into more of a focus on securing the homeland. So whatever your personal politics, it's a fact that this administration is really cracking down on immigrants. And the question is, how will we respond? So I hope that you'll join us in resisting this tendency to close off our nation from immigrant talent, and that you'll work with us to ensure the integrity of the immigration system, which, by the way, were words in our old USCIS mission statement. So we are committed to fighting for this, and we hope that you will continue to work with us as our allies, because it really is a fight. Thank you.